This episode is proudly brought to you by Santa.
You need to understand that there are people that are vicious. They connive. Women do tell lies about rape incidents. Mothers coach their children to lie about their fathers, their uncles, whatever suits them.
We should be inspired by the fact that banna ba ithata, banna ba ikgetha.
It takes time. It takes a lot of hard work, resilience, and understanding that it's bigger than you.
You know, I also struggle with balancing my life as a businesswoman and being a mother and being everything else. Yeah. I'm like in chaos.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am your host, Leshira Moloto, Communication Specialist at George Mahlakgane Financial Services. And need I to say, firstly, how amazing you all look, and you actually deserve a round of applause for honoring the theme. Okay, and not only did I as well honor the theme, but I have a team today of awesome, wonderful, amazing women who will be sharing their journey, their power, and their voice with us today. So firstly, let me introduce to you our former Miss South Africa 2010, a woman who started a youth campaign for underprivileged girls. She is actually a director of a PR company, a director of SB Powerhouse, and she also opened a library in her village, Ramphatlele. She has a company that actually brings more awareness to autism. So, ladies, please help me welcome on stage Mrs. Bokang Montjane Tshabalala. Okay, no, thank you very much. Next up on stage, let me introduce a businesswoman. She is the founder of a wine brand that redefines the face of South Africa. Ladies, please help me welcome on stage Siwela Wines of Siwela Wines. And next up on stage, please help me welcome as well a businesswoman. She is the founder of Trash Converters, proudly known as the Trash Queen. She has used environmental awareness as through her trash converting, actually. So she has an award in the Limpopo Business Awards currently, and named the top 5 in the Womenpreneur Africa. So ladies, please help me welcome Rotondwa Musitha. Next up on stage, I'm going to call one of Africa's top 100 female legal practitioners of 2025. She is a celebrated senior state advocate and a criminal law specialist. Ladies, please help me welcome Advocate Lerato Mohlaka on stage. Thank you very much, ladies. Welcome to What Matters Most with George Mahlakgane. Without wasting any more time, I am going to give each one of you 2 minutes to take us through their journey, their highlights. So I can start with Bokang, and then Siwela, you can follow, and so forth, before I ask the next question.
Dumelang. Sure, the highlights of my life. But one thing I can tell you is my journey. I mean, I did an interview recently, and they asked me, based on the different roles that I play, what is the one word that I would use to describe my entire journey? And to be honest with you, I literally said the one word to describe my entire journey as a young girl, as a dreamer, as a wife, as a mom, and everything that boils down to who I am, I would say favored. That is the one word I would choose to describe my entire journey, because I think, I always say this to people like talking about how hard they work, and that's why they are where they are. And I think we all work hard. Most of us really work hard. But the truth of the matter is, I always say there's always somebody working 10 times harder than you, trying to have what you have. And the truth of the matter is, they might not even be halfway to getting what you have and what you've acquired in life. And so I know my life is a life of God's grace, favor. There are certain opportunities that young women that I grew up with, Rampahlele, would never even dream of. And here I am standing in front of all of you today because I am favored. And that's how I would explain it. Yeah.
You are favored.
Good afternoon, everybody. I think for me, the highlights of my journey as the owner of Siwela Wines, a biotechnologist turned winemaker. I'm also from Rampahlele. I was born and raised Marulane Rampahlele. Yes. And I went all the way to the Western Cape to study with no clue of what I was studying. And I ended up spending my days in Stellenbosch. And that's why I'm here today. But the highlight would be that I'm living my wildest dream. And I think my journey is an inspiration to so many young black women. And that for me is the highlight of my journey. Thank you.
Good afternoon, ladies. Good afternoon, ladies. I am Rotondwa, like mentioned. I think the highlight of my journey has been coming from a small town called Mahlakgane, currently being named part of the top 200 male and guardian young South Africans. Receiving so many accolades in an industry where people look down on it. So what we do is that we do waste management, and we do waste management through the reclaimers that you guys see on a day-to-day. The guys that come and say, can I please have that can before you're done drinking? The ladies who are pushing trolleys all over, trying to just make a living, an honest living. Those are the people that we work with. And I think the highlight of my journey has been the contribution we've been able to make in people's lives, both directly and indirectly. So that has really stood out because we've seen people build homes through our contribution in the environmental space. So yeah, guys, Trash did bring me this far.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Lerato Mohlaka. I am from a very small, intimate, rural area in Bokang. But for Bokang, and I am an advocate. I specialize in criminal law litigation in the superior courts. That would be your High Court, your Constitutional Court, and your Appeals Court. So what I do for a living is I represent victims of crime. Gender-based violence is a thorn. It's a pandemic bigger than anything that we have ever faced. My biggest accolades was when Male Courtroom 100 said I am featured at number 38. Top female legal practitioners in Africa. Because what do you mean a girl, black, rural village, dusty roads in Bochum, amongst all the female ladies making such a huge contribution in our legal profession, was able to make it? But it's through hard work, is it not, ladies? It's resilience. So yes, every day I wake up to fight crime. It's a passion of mine. I've been doing it now for 18 years. It's a male-dominated industry, but I know we can make it because, what do you mean, 38 in Africa? Thank you so much. Wow.
Wow. I am with a, wow. Like I'm sitting here and I'm wondering, how did I get so lucky? You know? And I feel like everybody in the room today has to leave here with something, because we are sitting with powerful women. I mean, Bokang, you didn't just use your beauty for, like, you didn't just use your platform for beauty only, but you have focused on real issues like education, identity, autism. Like, how did you find your voice, and what advice do you have for women in the room that actually want to find their voice as well?
Sure, how did I find my voice? I think I will take it back to being a little girl, because we take for granted how we're raised, right? And I grew up in a family with a mom and a dad, but you know, there's always that one child, when everyone is going right here, now we get like, you know, and I was that child whereby, you know, I spoke too much. I did everything opposite to what everybody did, but I grew up in a family where I was taught I'm loved, and that it's okay for me to be different, and that it's okay for me to be outspoken. And because of that, when we're talking voice, the first place where I knew that my voice matters and it's important was in my home. My parents allowed me to speak my voice, to express myself. And the reason why I'm dating it all the way back there is because I think most of us are parents here. We take for granted the way or based on how you raise them, you're either giving them permission, you know, to go into the world and be outspoken, or you, as the parent, you're the one person who's going to, right? So that's the first place where I got my voice. And I think being a little girl then, being allowed to speak and doing pageantry, you know, it sounds like such a fickle industry, but the first time I experienced having a microphone in my hand with a crowd in front of me and being asked a question and actually answering it and realizing what I am seen, I am heard, I am important. That gave me, yet on top of what my parents had given me, more validation to say my voice matters, because all of a sudden I could raise whatever opinion I have in this world, and I knew that people could listen to me because my voice matters. And then of course, taking it all the way up, even after Miss South Africa, you realize that you're given such a platform. And, you know, I go back to the scripture here, to whom much is given, much is expected. And so when I got this platform and I got to win Miss South Africa, I always tell the story to say there are two different types of kids that you will experience as a Miss South Africa. The first one, you go to a school, you're speaking to young girls, and there's this kid who just knows, she's confident, she knows who she is, and you know, they say Miss South Africa, they're happy, they want to take pictures with you, and you know, and then there's this little girl whereby you go to a school and they introduce you and they say, this is Montjane, and she's Miss South Africa. They look in her eyes, and you can just see she cannot believe it, that somebody who looks like her, who speaks like her, who comes from where she comes from, right, can actually be a Miss South Africa. And that for me made me realize that my voice matters, and not just for me to be heard. My voice mattered for every little girl who looks like that, because all of a sudden now I have this platform where I need to speak on her behalf. Because I know that before this, I didn't have people who would speak on my behalf. I didn't have people who looked like me speaking on my behalf. So when you ask me in terms of my voice, I've always known throughout every single chapter of my life that my voice matters. The only difference is that now I speak for other people. I speak on issues that are close to other people's hearts, and I'm using what I've been given to really make a difference using my voice. So yeah. Yeah,
I actually love what you're saying, Ore. Confidence and that validation actually starts at home. Because it's easy to be broken. Like, it's easy to be from a place where nobody sees or nobody gives you an opportunity to voice out. So it does actually start from home. And Siwela, like, I'm looking at the fact, Yagore, you are in a business where it's not very welcoming for like black women, you know. So what actually gave you the confidence to step into that field? I mean, like wine.
I I don't know where to start, but I think for me, I would call it a calling. I don't know if it counts as a calling, but but for me, it's not just about wine. It's not just about wine. Yes, I happen to, I studied biotechnology, and that's how I, got exposed to the winemaking industry. So that also can get somebody to want to learn more about winemaking and the wine industry. And when I got that idea that, this was 2010, when I was sitting with my classmate, and I said, I actually want to go into the wine space, make wine, and open a winery back at home, be the first to do something like that. And that was 2010. And I didn't know that just by saying that, I would end up pursuing that. Time went by, I finished my studies, I went to do my internships in Stellenbosch. I happened to finish with that, then I went on to work, with some of the biggest brands. And I later decided that I wanted to build a name for myself in the industry. But more than that, I realized that there was no representation of black women within the wine industry. And I thought, why can't I be that person? Why can't I be the person that other young people would look at and say, you know what, I actually want to do the same. So I think for me, that journey, the passion drove me to go into the space. And it's not that I wasn't scared. I mean, I was just a young girl. When I launched my business, I was, 28? And wine is the only thing I know. And I remember in 2014, when I was doing my internship in Stellenbosch, I looked around and I said, where will I get the money to establish the vineyards? Where will I get the money to establish a winery? Buy these equipments that cost a lot of money. They cost millions. I was not even getting paid for my internship, and every day I took a train to go to work because I believed that the experience that I was getting there was going to work towards my favor in the future. I had a bigger plan. I thought one day I want to do this, and it was a great experience, but it also discouraged me because I remember feeling like, if I come out and I do this, will people actually buy into it? I mean, I'm talking about an industry that even today, it's still white owned, not only dominated, but it is owned because it's the white people that own all the infrastructure within the wine industry. It's the white people that own the brands within the wine industry. It's, as consumers, we also used to just, brands that are made and, owned by white people. Those are the brands that we actually trust. And I thought it was not going to work. So I'm just sharing this because I want you to realize that it's not that I always had the confidence to do it. I was scared. I didn't have everything. I didn't have the money. I didn't have everything. But I knew that with the experience that I had working within the industry, and I made sure that I was able to be part of the production processes or the production. I was able to be part of the quality part of the business. I was able to be part of the service part of the business. I would even take weekend jobs, not for money, but because I wanted to learn everything and anything possible about the wine industry. So that when I'm done, I understand, the entire value chain. And I did just that. And I think it's some of the things that gave me the courage or the confidence to say, I can do it. And obviously, realizing that there's a gap, actually. This might be difficult or this might be unheard of, but there is a gap. And I want to fill that gap. I want to represent a whole lot of women that look like me. I want young people to look at me and say that I want to go to the University of Stellenbosch and I want to study viticulture. I want to study enology, or I want to study biotechnology, or I want to go into the business of wine. So I think for me, it's the passion I had for the industry, or I developed for the industry, and my skills that I've acquired throughout the years that gave me the confidence to say, you know what, in as much as it seems impossible, I think I can do it. And I still live by that. I mean, it's not a perfect picture. It's not a, you're going to get rich tomorrow. You do it out of the passion for wine. And that's what drives me. And I think it drives many other winemakers or, business people behind every bottle of wine that you consume.
So when you decided to study biotechnology at your university, Like, did you know I want to start a wine brand? Like, you were sure this is what I'm doing?
No, I was not. I took biotechnology because I had science subjects. I did not understand what biotechnology is.
Yeah.
For a lot of people, you would not understand what biotechnology is because, biotechnology is life, right? Every part of our life is, there's biotechnology involved. And why I say that is because the food we eat, biotechnology is in there. So you find biotechnology within pharmaceutical, you find biotechnology within agriculture and within food and beverages. So it's quite complex, and I feel like in South Africa it's not yet embraced, but if you go to other countries that are well established, biotechnology would be something that is very big. I was like, okay, I'm doing biotechnology. I call my mom, yes, I'm accepted for biotechnology, I'm doing biotechnology. Okay, so what are you going to be? Are you going to be a doctor? I'm going to do something in pharmaceuticals. Are you happy? Because growing up, a lot of our parents always thought we're going to be doctors. They wanted us to be doctors. For you to be seen as a successful child, you have to be a doctor, right? Second semester, we started majoring in fermentation, microbiology. That's when we started learning about winemaking. Okay. And I sat, and actually for the first time in my life, I sat in that class and I said, I think this is what I want to do. This is second semester at university. And second semester at university, you're already in deep. And I was like, I think this is what I want to do. And I think a lot of young girls, especially from the places that some of us come from, when I did my matric, we went for an outing which was supposed to be a career day thing. We went to the correctional services. We couldn't even get in. I think we also went to the police station. And that was it. And the rest of the day, we spent it drinking at some parks and whatever, and we went back home. So can you imagine so many young people have to now make a decision, what do you want to be when you grow up, yet you're not exposed to anything? We don't have libraries. It was back then, at least no social media or there's the internet you could research. But now, luckily for me, my mom was very, she always made sure that she supports us, She's a single mom, but she made sure she does it. I don't know how she did it. And she came back with this big book. It's a career guidance book. So I learned all about the possible career choices out there from that book. But not everybody gets that chance, And then okay, I think this is what I want to do, and I ran with that idea. And this was 2010 when I thought, I think I want to do this. And I would proudly say even today that this is what I will do for the rest of my life.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I love that because, Barry, there is no such thing as a useless degree. I think a lot of people have studied something, but they are in completely different fields, and they just feel like, maybe I was supposed to study something else, or Ingmara, look at what you have done with your biotechnology degree. And Rotondwa, right now, you have worked in industries where women are often underrepresented. How do you make your voice heard in those industries?
So I think it's important to highlight that indeed the waste management sector is a white male-dominated space. I'm very young, so that also contributed to having people look down on me. But I think having a voice in such a sector, it's not about being the loudest in the room. It's about your contribution. It's about how much you know. It's important to get to a place and be prepared. I always say, if there's one thing that you should make your friend is Google. So yes, we might be deprived of certain resources, but majority are able to access Google. And that is able to just give you an upper hand in getting to find out more. But it's also about being open to learning. Sometimes, like Siwela mentioned, it's not about learning and getting paid for it. Sometimes it's about what you you get to learn while on the job. I've also done a few on-the-job activities at certain companies. Some already deprived me of that. I come from a very small town where literally there was one player, and he's a white male. He's still there today. It's 24 years later, and he's still running. And I took a decision to say, I'm going to do this in our very small town. And I went back home, and literally, initially when I started, everyone looked at me and they're like, okay, what's going on? Is she okay? Is she mad? What's happening? You went, you studied, you came back, and now you decide you're going to pick up trash. Is that the plan? And it was a serious thing, because my parents as well at some point were like, yo, okay, we took you to school, what's going on? And I said, I really feel strong about this. And I think looking back on the journey where I started as a collector, and now I run my own waste management company, I'm tapping into spaces where young black women are still not represented. I'm representing the young girl who looked at an opportunity and said, it looks dirty, but it's doable. I can solve this. They might just be treasure there. I think looking back at my journey, so I started as a model as well. And like Bokang mentioned, it's a very fickle, or it's looked at or looked down upon as a fickle industry to say, what do models know? We are known to be blonde. But I wanted to change that narrative. And in everything I've done, it has always been, I'll hit the ground running. I'll do what I can with what I have and make it work. And with that, I started with very little knowledge in the waste sector. But today, I can say I make valuable contribution to the sector. And in that, I'm able to groom other young ladies who want to tap into that sector. It's the green economy. Everyone is going that direction. Everyone is speaking sustainability. I urge young ladies to look at it as an opportunity to grow in, because we still need you. I think together, holding each other's hands and walking the journey together, we can really make valuable contribution. Also considering that the people who contribute a lot in this very sector are black women. They are the ones who are on the ground. They are the ones who are leveling the playing field. And I think it's just important that when they look up, they still see us running and carrying that baton on their behalf. So I think it's very important that I encourage whoever's still trying to figure out what they want to do in their life or their career to say, look at the green sector. It's very broad. It's not about just picking up waste. It's broad. It goes beyond. I just started at the bottom, and I am okay and happy to get my hands dirty, get on my knees, and get the work done. So you might see me like this today, and tomorrow you see me in a work suit. Don't be surprised. It's the nature of the game, and I am here today because of that, and I'm very proud of that.
Like Rotondwa, I'm intrigued. The very first time you picked up trash, what was that like? Like you walked out of the house, you went out to the street. Like what did that day look like for you?
So that day, it was a lot. So I had to channel my mind firstly.
Yeah.
I had to tell myself, I'm going to do this. So initially I was supposed to start this company with someone. And when we were supposed to relocate to Limpopo, she decided it's too much of a risk for her. So she decided she's not going to do it. I had already resigned from my job, so I couldn't look back. So it took 2 weeks for me to actually absorb the fact that I don't have a +1 or a partner or someone to cry with or someone to run with. But I came back home and I decided one morning that I am going to town, I am going to walk into the shops, and I'm going to ask them for boxes. And I did literally just that. Some said, what do you want boxes for? We can't give you boxes. We're going to sell them to you. And I was okay with anything. And I started flattening boxes. Literally, I punched through the sellotape and then flattened the boxes. I would hug those boxes because that's how I would carry them. And at some store, I fell because I didn't know that boxes were slippery. So I literally fell. I felt like crying. I stood up and I said, this is the journey I chose. And I continued. Even in that, my first sale literally made me 98 Rand. So you can imagine, my mom was like, nope, we're going back to school or to work. This is not going to work. And I'm like, let's give it time. I'm looking at the bigger picture, but I need to understand the groundwork. I need to understand what it is that goes through picking up waste in the sun, in the dust, in whatever weather conditions. And it really was a journey. It took time, it was heavy, it was painful, it's smelly, name it. But we go through it. But in the end, I think it's gotten me where I am today. And even in that, people know me as Tondi, Wamashika, Tondi, Wadziken. There are so many names that come with it. And I'm happy. I'm happy because now people are able to say, I can also do that. If a person who looks like that is able to, put down everything, pack her degrees, whatever qualifications, whatever accolades, and still say, I'm going to do the groundwork, I think it's something that a lot of people can resonate with.
I mean, 98 turning into $1 million, 98 rands turning into $1 million, I would be happy as well, Rotondwa. Like,
but
I tell you, I would be celebrating right now.
It takes time. It takes a lot of hard work, resilience, and understanding that it's bigger than you.
I love that. And Advocate Lerato, I mean, you are as well constantly standing out in a male-dominated field like criminal law. What moments in your career as well required you to raise your voice the loudest?
Sure, there's been a million of those. At the top of my mind, I remember one time when I joined superior litigation. You can imagine criminal law. Mostly you deal with male criminals. The police are usually males. Before I was a senior state advocate, and that just basically means I am a prosecutor litigating in superior courts. I was a defense counsel. And I want to say, do not despise humble beginnings. I started litigating when I was very young. I was 22. I had just celebrated my 21st. My single mother used to say to me, I paid people to tell you what to say. But immediately when you enter my house, you are not studying law, you are not a lawyer, you will hear and listen to what I say. But may God bless her soul, she has departed. Phenomenal woman. Now, the first appearance that I made, I suppose then they told the judges that we have just recruited someone to come and assist us. So I went there. I was the youngest at the time. I was just 32. I just turned 32. And then after I went into chambers to introduce myself with my colleagues, male, older colleagues, the judge said to the secretary, but she's just wet behind her ears. What is she going to do with serial rapists, serial murderers? And that was my journey. I took it. I loved it. I initially wanted to be a doctor. I'm so glad that did not work out. I'm so glad, because what was I going to do with blood and syringes? Because I thrive on what I do. So eventually, after the judge didn't believe that I was good for the job, I went into court. Indeed, as she prophesied, I found males, only males. My client was a male, obviously. He was a serial rapist. But having to unpack the evidence, having to litigate, be heard, be seen, and change the narrative that yes, a female can represent. Because remember, criminal litigation does not only mean that people are guilty. You need to understand that. There are people that are vicious. They connive. Women do tell lies about rape incidents. Mothers coach their children to lie about their fathers, their uncles, whatever suits them. Do you understand that? And we have not yet tapped into that issue. The false allegation regarding gender-based violence. So there I was, doing what I did. But I'll tell you that in 2021, I did not move from being a defense counsel because I wanted to. One day I was representing a very vicious, because I know better, now, client. We went through the trial, and then at the end of the trial, there were all political parties that were present in court, the gallery, members of the community. I successfully represented my client. But the change in my career path was the outburst, the cry of the deceased's daughter. I was not aware that she was in the courtroom. I did my best, as I always did over the years, past a decade. But that one afternoon Friday changed the way I looked at criminal litigation. And I knew, because I come from a Christian family, that obviously the work that I do, I needed to serve a different demographic. It meant that from that day, I could no longer look at my work the same. True to God's promises, His will, His infinite powers, I then applied for the current position. I'd never been a prosecutor before, but I was appointed as senior. And from that day, I just flipped the coin. Yeah. But the reason why I started by saying, do not despise humble beginnings. I could not realize at the time when I was young, very ambitious, representing all what the community says are vile creatures, very violent, that it would assist me in my current position to understand the criminal mind so that I can prosecute it. Yeah. So when I investigate these criminal acts, I'm fully understanding what goes behind this criminal mind. What avenues do I need to cover? How far should I take investigations so that I'm not found wanting? I shouldn't be found lacking, because there's like 10 men that are coming for me and my victims. And I must say that as a black woman, it's not only, and I must emphasize this, it's not only about representing women. Some of the high-profile cases I've dealt with had to do with women that orchestrated the death and the brutal murders of their partners. You know, when we go out and march and picket and we want our voices to be heard about femicides, we must not forget that the darker side that we're not willing to talk about is the fact that women are coming to the party. Beautiful women like you and me are going out, hiring help to kill their children, to kill their brothers, to kill whoever that is in their way. I've done cases where women have hired help to kill their mothers and their fathers for insurance payouts, Mr. George. So we are there. We are there. While we are sitting here saying females are at risk, but we must be open, we must be frank about the criminal mind of a female and men alike.
Thank you. Like, honestly. Bokang, I mean, we have 24 hours in a day. And you wear many hats. You are a businesswoman, you are a mother, you are a wife, you constantly show up for everybody. How do you balance it all without losing yourself in the process?
I think, yeah. That question, let me give you a scenario. When I go to events with my husband, for those who might know him, he's a former footballer. You know, you get asked questions, they'll ask him how the game was with Pirates, why about Musitha, and you know, and then they turn to me and they ask me the very same question. To say, Bokang, and you, how do you balance it all? You know, you are a wife, you're a businesswoman, you are... What I'm trying to show you is there is so much pressure that is put on women that men never have to deal with, right? The questions my husband, I get asked, nobody ever asks my husband. It's almost like, listen, we love you, you're a football legend, do your thing, be fantastic, as long as you know how to score it, right? And then when they turn to me, the pressure, and the honest truth is, I don't balance it all, because I can't, right? I always say, I cannot balance all these things. Right now, I am in Polokwane, my husband and kids are in Johannesburg, which means I am not really being a wife right now, and I'm not being a mom to my children. And so what I want to say to every woman here is prioritize. Learn to prioritize what's important in that particular moment. Because the truth of the matter is society will try and make you feel like you have to know how to do everything and give everything 100% and be excellent in it. But the truth of the matter is tomorrow I want to sondag kos. Because na ke Polokwane and I'm eating my mother's sondag kos. My husband and his kids but tomorrow, right? And just prioritize. Choose what's important and say, I'm giving the 70%. I usually say to my husband, this week 10% for Enalibana because I have an event or I'm planning something, I do this, I do that, I've got a seminar, I've got workshops, I've got this. That's what it is, prioritize. But how do I still know how to pour into myself? I'm very, very selfish about it. And it's something that I learned very, very late in my life. Yeah. You know, with a husband and kids, we give so much of ourselves to them, and we really forget to pour into ourselves. And so I am so intentional about the fact that the truth of the matter is I cannot give what I don't have. So I pour into myself. I'm intentional. And I always say this, men are beautifully selfish with themselves. Men are beautifully selfish. And I think half the time we want to be so angry with them, but the truth of the matter is we should be inspired by the fact that banna ba ithata, banna ba ikgetha, monna o dira se a nyakang go se dira, and se a mo khotsofatsa, and because se a mo thabisha o tlo se dira. But my question is, why can't you do it? What do you think is going to happen to your children if you leave for a week or for a weekend because you just want to go somewhere quiet or heme?
Yeah.
What do you think is going to happen? Their lives will not fall apart, trust me. And so I'm saying to every woman here, there is nothing called balance. Well, in my experience, you prioritize. When it's time for work, you give it at 80%. When it's time for you and your husband, you give it 80%, and everything else will get the leftovers. When it's time for you to focus on your children, that's what it is. So do not crack your head or your heart and your head about the fact that you cannot do it all at the same time and be excellent in everything. So I'm very intentional, Leshira, about my time and doing the things that set my heart on fire. And I'm very intentional as well about prioritizing what's important. And that's how I do it. There's no balance. I just do what's important in that particular moment.
Beautiful. I'm definitely taking this point home because I think Rachavo admit our men are very selfish beings.
It's beautiful. No, we mustn't, selfish, maybe it's a baitada. They love themselves, because I think when we say selfish is a negative word, right? Yeah. They are. That's why I had to say beautifully selfish. I'm trying to make it look nice. They are.
I'm making it personal.
Yeah. You are. It's self-love. They know how to choose themselves, and I think as Basadi, we need to learn how to do that for ourselves. And yeah, let's call it self-love.
Oh, so ladies, let's do self-love. I withdraw. Beautifully selfish. Siwela, you spoke about what are the reason when you decided to second semester, when you decided to you're getting into wine and deciding I'm gonna make wine. You said it was passion. So I want to know, when you decided to move from being an employee or student to being a businesswoman, what advice do you have for women who feel stuck actually between security and chasing their dreams?
I think you have to listen to your inner voice. You have to trust and believe in yourself. And I'm not saying that everyone must go out there, quit their jobs, because sometimes I think about the decision that I've made when things are tough, and I'm like, how stupid are you? Because the journey is not always going to be nice, there's going to be a lot of times when you wake up and you regret the decision that you have made, or you look at your friends and you're like, oh my God, look at them. They can pay their bills on time. They've got their lives put together. You know, I also struggle with balancing my life as a businesswoman and being a mother and being everything else. I'm like in chaos. You know? But yeah, we'll get there. Yeah, not everybody needs to do all that. You know, I think you have to listen to your inner voice. You have to trust yourself. You have to believe that there is something that is bigger. And I think even with me, every day I wake up, even though everything is a mess, even though I've got employees, and sometimes I look at them and I'm like, yo, I don't know how I'm going to pay your salaries today. Like, it's month end today, and I'm like, I don't even have that money. You know? But you know what? I wake up tomorrow and people have sent money into my account, and I'm like, yes, there we go. Let's do this, you know?
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, I think it's about listening to that voice inside of you. We mustn't, I think in today's times, we are pressurizing people to go into entrepreneurship, to do all the big things, and I don't think it's about that. I think you need to study yourself. You need to listen to yourself. There's someone out there who just wants to be a mom. She just wants to stay at home, take care of her children, and be a wife or a stay-at-home mom, and that's okay, as long as that's what you want to do, you know? And I think for me, like, I think I would say that listen to yourself. Like, there is that voice inside of you that is there to guide you about anything in life. That's the voice you want to listen to. I think that's how I look at it. Yeah, you don't have to be a scientist to change the world. You don't have to do big things. You have to do what you want. You have to do what you love. And I think a lot of us struggle with finding what we love because we are not paying attention to ourselves. Like we wake up every day and we listen to so much noise that's out there. You know, you listen to what people think you could become, what women should become today, and what's good, all those things, the noise outside. We have to switch off and listen to ourselves. Like, what is it? Like, Siwela, what do you aspire to be? What do you love? I think that's from there. Like, what do you love? You know? And once you find it, I'm a big supporter of like following your passion, because that's how I got where I am. I think even with children, you spoke so profoundly about raising children. I think we need to let them find themselves, and they don't have to. Like, listen, I was in second semester when I realized that I could be a winemaker one day. Growing up my entire life, I didn't even know what winemaking was. I could only see a bottle of JC Leroux and it ended there. I didn't even have a bigger picture, or behind a bottle of wine, there are people wearing boots in the cellar, crushing grapes, stressing about like why you got wine. There are other people that are now in the lab thinking, no, we are out of spec, no, this can't be bottled, There's a whole chain of people that are specialists that are involved in that one bottle of wine. I did not know that. So it's about finding yourself, listening to yourself, and not everybody else, just yourself, paying attention. Like, you need to know yourself. You need to spend so much time doing things, like she said, for yourself. Because in that, doing things for yourself is how you discover who you are. And sometimes discovering who you are doesn't happen at 20, it doesn't happen at 30, it can happen at 50. There are so many people that have, at 50 years, they started over and they were so happy. They discovered who they truly were. For the past 50 years, they were just something that the world expected them to be.
I mean, get to love yourself. I love that. Whoever is watching at home, please do not forget to subscribe, like, comment down below, and click the notification bell to be notified whenever we actually launch a new video. And Rotondwa, coming back to you, and the name What Matters Most with George Mahlakgane. What matters most to you, and how do you protect what matters most to you?
Interesting. So what matters most to me is family. I value family, but I think over time I've learned that family is not only blood related. I've made family across all walks of life, and so many people have contributed to the person I am today. And I regard those as family, and I hold them dear to my heart. How I protect that is, I think it's important that we note that we need to nurture relationships. The only way you can make things work is through nurturing, taking care of them, or making sure that all is well and having seamless communication so that, we're always on the same page. So I nurture family, and I always make sure that I'm there for them. I'm supportive. It's not easy, but it's possible. And I think it's about just making a decision on what really matters most and really trying to just, hold it at high value. It's one of those where a mother will protect her kids, the typical mom will protect her kids through thick and thin. I'm yet to have my own kids, but what I would hold dear is my family to say, through it all, I'll be there, I'll be supportive. If anything, you'll never doubt my support. So, yeah.
We are actually beat for time, so Advocate Lerato, I'm actually just gonna ask you that final question. What, as per the namesake, what matters most to you, and how do you protect what matters most to you?
Coming from a rural area, like I've said, I'm from Bokang. So every time the world gets crazy around me, a crime is emotionally draining. It lives in its trail trauma that cannot be captured in books. Those that study criminology, and that is the psychology behind crime, they will tell you what motivates a criminal. But now, having tapped into the victims and the trail that crime leaves in its path, every time things do not go right in that space, I go back home. Mamolo ka ba kua bogo mo khukhuku. Ge nka no tsoga fro ka kwa nkara I'm not okay. Ke a starta ke tšea bana, I go sit there ka fase sa motlhare wa mokwepere. Bo mamogolo wa ka ba rata go ntlhabela pudi. Kore every time they see me, because I'm a representation of her younger sister, ba no bona ka re nka lose weight gore ke hluile. So you're not that part that there are people somewhere out there, and that's my family. You get into spaces every day where you walk into people's lives. To me, it's a docket. But I've learned over the close to 2 decades of my career that those are people's lives we are dealing with. You're not just representing for the statistics. When government says, and the National Prosecuting Authority says, we have managed to convict this rate, it's men and women, boys and girls that were taken away from their families. So once the victims are happy, but there's still the aftermath. When you convict a mother for killing her own biological child because she had been raping her, there are other children that are left behind. Do you know what I mean? You are in the middle. You must strike a balance between the two, justice and what justice means for the victims. So those type of dynamics that we go through, if a breadwinner, a man, violates the law, you need to take away the criminal man, but what becomes of the family without the provider? So all of those things, on days I knock off, after a very long, we always run on marathon trials, and I go home, I look at my people, I look at my partner, and I'm like, that is someone's life that I just sent away. Whilst my employer celebrates me for reporting and recording multiple life sentences, but the reality of my job is someone sitting there says, that woman broke up my family. It will take them years to catch up that I was protecting them. But in the immediate moment, on a Friday, on whatever afternoon, when I leave, the police take him or her, and the people are left destituted. So it's family, 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 protecting the institution that God created so lovingly, so meticulously, that right now the devil has taken over. I cannot even begin to explain what happens on my day-to-day life. So I get very excited when I get home. I've got a 1-year 5-month-old daughter. That moment when she sees me and I'm just Lerato and I don't have any other thing, that's the most exciting part. So I get to protect them, and that is what matters most, by protecting the families, the communities, the institutions, the corruption, my goodness. So in my area of expertise, if I can record one criminal off the streets, I can sleep better knowing we've just eliminated one threat. Every other time at the end of the year when they say thank you for the multiple life sentences, to me it means I've just protected the institution of freedom, security, and family, and that's what matters most.
Family. I don't know if you have watched our episode 1 on what matters most with George, but you will hear Mr. George Mahlakgane stress and put more emphasis on the importance of family as well, and it's what these amazing women as well have spoken on today. The passion, being more selfish with our time, education, there's no such thing as a useless degree, so we just need to sit with ourselves more often and be intentional about certain things. Seek and we will find, but also let's pray to God. So unfortunately, our panel has come to an end. For you ladies giving us time today, we really appreciate it. You have shared your voice with us today, your power and your journey, and I believe and hope that everybody in this room is leaving with something today, something that they will take home and exercise and practice and just live by. I am your host, Ms. Moloto, and I am done for the day. Till next time, Nick. Thank you so much.
This episode was proudly brought to you by Santam.